In this video, we'll look at how an end user can launch a Ray as a service tenant on a shared host Kubernetes cluster. Let's first start with the user logging into a self-service portal. And as you can see, they have a pretty low privilege to start with. And then just in one click, they will be able to launch their Ray tenant. Let's see that in action. The user logs in, they click on launch, provide it with a name. They can call it whatever they want, and then hit save and deploy. This launches the tenant on the shared Kubernetes cluster. And then in a few minutes, they'll be presented with credentials for their Ray dashboard, their private Ray dashboard. And let's try that out as a user. Enter the username credential. And as you can see here, they can see their Ray dashboard. And at this point, the user can use this Ray endpoint service for their application and testing. Now let's look at what this tenant looks like on the shared host cluster. In this case, we're running a cluster in an on-premises data center. And as you can see here, when I go look for the namespace called Alpha Ray, which is the name that the end user put in, it's running a separate, a new namespace has been created, and there are resources operating inside that. And as you describe that particular pod, you can notice that this is actually a virtual cluster based on the vCluster project, and a dedicated vCluster based Ray endpoint has been set up for that user. Let's use the integrated Kubernetes resources dashboard to look at the details a little further, and then you can see that it's actually based on vCluster again. The shared Kubernetes cluster underneath can host tens or hundreds of these Ray tenants on it. Now let's go look at what this Ray tenant running inside that virtual cluster looks like. As you can see, that virtual cluster has been imported into Rafay here. And as you can see from the label, it's a virtual cluster. And when you kubectl into it, you'll notice that it's running Kubernetes 1.29. And then when you, let's expand our kubectl shell a little more and look at the namespaces inside this virtual cluster. As you can see, KubeRay, there's a KubeRay namespace. And when you look at all the resources inside KubeRay, you'll notice that it is technically the KubeRay, the Ray operator, and the user has access to a private environment for their Ray experiments.